All right. Hello, everyone. This is John, but some of you might also know me from Twitter, where I go by the alias of WhiteHatInspector. I'm so excited to be here today, and I hope I can add a little bit of value to this great conference. Today, I'm going to talk about Skype and how it can be utilized to advance an OSINT investigation. Skype is not mentioned often in the OSINT community, but I believe it offers great capabilities and it's a great OSINT tool overall. Some quick things about me. So I'm really passionate with OSINT, and you can find me if you want on Twitter as WhiteHatInspector. I will be happy to communicate with you on Twitter if you share the same passion as me. You can also just take a look for my daily OSINT tips and tools, which I post using the daily OSINT hashtag. It has been almost 90 continuous days so far that I post OSINT stuff, and I have set a goal to do that every day for a year. I don't know what I was thinking back then when I set that goal, but anyways, there is no going back now. I hope you can find something useful there for your OSINT investigations. I also have a GitHub page where you can check out my latest Python-based tool, Email Guesser. It allows you to try and effectively guess the email of your target when everything else has failed during your OSINT investigations. In my free time, I blog OSINT stuff and volunteer in 2 NGOs to find missing persons. One of the NGOs I volunteer with is Trace Labs, and I'm very proud to have recently gained the silver badge in their latest OSINT CTF for missing persons. I highly recommend you participate in their CTFs because you will learn a lot of OSINT things along the way. Last but not least, I love traveling as much as I can and watching series. My favorite one being Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But let's move on. So why Skype is an OSINT goldmine anyway? First reason is that Skype holds first position globally as a telecommunication and in-conferencing application, meaning it is widely spread with a vast user base. Although it has begun losing popularity with the rise of alternative tools such as Zoom, it still dominates its sector for a long time, and this means that your target is very likely to have a Skype account. The table you see here shows the percentage of US internet users who use Skype as of January 2018 by age group. You can see that approximately 1 out of 2 US citizens aged between 16 to 44 is active on Skype. Estimated forecasts say that in 2024, there will be 2.4 billion users worldwide registered on Skype. The second reason is that Skype provides a wide range of search capabilities. It allows you to search a Skype user by name, such as John Smith, username, such as Dragon32, email address, such as jsmith@yahoo.com, or telephone number. And full results of the matched profile will appear even if you're not friends with the target. Not bad, huh? These capabilities are very useful in OSINT investigations, and the only tools I have found to have so many search results and query choices are some US people search engines where you can find and search literally anything. Skype might not be as straightforward as them, but if you know how to use it, it really gives a lot to work with a global scope that US-focused people search engines don't offer. And of course, my favorite, it's free. Skype can be used in many different ways. I have put there all the links for you to see. There is a web application, a downloadable app version for Windows, Linux, or Mac, a mobile version, an Xbox version, and you can use the Skiply site, which is my favorite, because you don't have to create an investigative account in order to search Skype, and it provides a little bit of extra different functionality. But of course, all of the options provide the same exact set capabilities, or at least the differences are really too little to worry about. Feel free to use whatever suits you best, because the methodologies remain the same. Let's move on now and examine what each search capability can provide to an OSINT investigator. The very first choice is querying by full name. You can first input the first name and then the last name of your target, or vice versa. I haven't seen any real difference in any of these two options. Both ways will yield the same search results. Even if you don't know the full name of your target, but just a partial name, you will get some really interesting results. You can see on the right of your screen that a partial name search query yielded varying results. Some of the results revealed unknown surnames, while others revealed middle names we might not have known before. It all depended on whether Dolor was a middle name or a last name to any profile in our results. It is important to say here that results are not necessarily the real names of the owners of these accounts, but their preferred display names. This means that users can freely change their display names whenever they want to and use any display name they want. So just because you have found a display name that matches your query, that doesn't necessarily mean you found your target. However, people tend to use Skype for more, let's say, formal uses, like job interviews or other professional stuff. So most of the time, display names will indeed match real names of users. Note that the display name is different from the Skype username, which we will examine in a while. And this display name is determined by each user and can be modified anytime, whereas the Skype username is automatically configured by Skype and can never change. The profile information that will appear after you have found your target vary each time. The only things that are certain to appear are the display name and the username of the profile found. But many users choose to reveal more. In the profile example on the top right, we see that the target Skype username, which ends in 4198, which I bet you is a birth date, and the place of residence, either current or past one, that includes a country. If we switch to Skipley site, we now get the bottom right result, which now gives us both a country and a state. Not bad at all for just a single query. This helps us to narrow down our search substantially for this person. Some people actually put their birthday public for everyone to see, like the result seen in the middle photo. In this case, Skype will show only day and month, but Skipley will also show the year of birth. Now, although we see it, we can't really use his profile image, but that's okay, because there is a workaround. If you visit the link shown in this slide, and you just change the username part with the username of your target, you will be able to see the profile image. In case there is a live part in the username, include that also in the link. This image can then be downloaded or reverse searched easily. It might then lead us to other social media profiles of this user. Unfortunately, Skype strips all EXIF data from photos, or at least I could not find an image with preserved EXIF data after several different tests I performed. Same results apply to all kinds of queries, as long as a profile returns in the results. Although the display names which we looked at above can be edited by the users at any time, this is not the case with users' Skype usernames. We can confirm that by looking at the Skype support page as shown in the photo at the bottom. Skype uses the term Skype names for its usernames, so don't get confused. So let's analyze a little bit what we learned from here. According to Skype, the user's Skype username is auto-generated by Skype, meaning the user cannot create or select it himself during account creation. Also, user can never change or modify his username. If a user wants to change his username, he must create a new account. And if a user deletes his account, his Microsoft account is also deleted, thus discouraging people to do so. Let's see why all of that are important to us. According to multiple sources on the internet, each user's Skype username has a very specific format according to when and how he made his account. So if someone created an account before around 2016, he could have whatever ID or Skype username he wanted himself. He could modify it. If someone created an account in Skype after around 2016 and used an email to register, his ID would look like live, followed by the username of his email. When I say username of an email, I mean the part of the email before the @ symbol. If he used a telephone number, on the other hand, to register on Skype, his ID would look like live, followed by a random hexadecimal pseudo number. Regardless the way he used to register, if someone created an account after late 2019, his ID would look like live, followed by .cid. And a random hexadecimal pseudo number. There are many usages of this, but I will mention only one here. If your target has something like 2003 at the end of his username, or the username of his email address and his ID format is of the first type without any live inside it, then it is highly unlikely this indicates his birth year, because he would be 13 years old on 2016, which is the latest to have this ID format. And it is very difficult for a 13-year-old to have a Skype account, although I suppose not impossible. If you just look at this same account without this information in 2021, it would feel right, because in 2021, this guy would be 18 years old, which makes sense to have a Skype account at this age. So this is important because it allows you to exclude some hypotheses during your investigation, or maybe narrow down your search to less individuals that you think they might be your target. Now, there's a pretty awesome trick here. If the account creation of your target was between 2016 and 2019, his email address can be guessed. Skype actually betrays this trick in its official support page as shown in the photo. The part of your target Skype username that follows the live part is exactly the same as the username of the target's email address. When I say, again, username of an email address, I mean everything before the @ symbol. Remember that users cannot change their Skype username in this case. So basically, Skype reveals a pretty important clue about their email address. Actually, all of it without the domain. And there is nothing they can do about it, apart from deleting their profile and making a new one. This is why we can officially brute force guess the target's email address. All that's left for us now is find the domain where our target has created the email, which he used to register on Skype. How are we going to do that? Simple. We will search for commonly used email domains in the country of our target, or just try top worldwide email domains. If your target was John Smith, for example, if he didn't already state his place of residence in his profile, as we have seen before, we can assume he lives in a country like USA or UK. We switch to a Google search to find top email providers in USA. And these are the results we get. In the photo, we see gmail.com is the most used email provider, followed by Yahoo, and so on. We can now start guessing using gmail.com first, then yahoo.com, then outlook.com, and so on. If this doesn't work out, we can find all of his previous and current employers and try guessing again using these domains. After searching a random John Doe name, I found the results you see in this slide. One of them was Live Tiger Heart 777. The name suggested that the target was indeed a US citizen. So I followed the process I have just explained. I repeat that sometimes you don't need to guess the country of residence, as it is already mentioned as a detail in the target's profile. As you can see in the photo, in my 5th try, I discovered that the same user profile is found again under one of my email address guesses. We basically found his email address in seconds, just by following the simple brute force guessing tactic. However, there is a small trap we need to look out for. Although we have seen that email username is inherited by Skype username, this profile on the right doesn't follow this rule. While the search parameter was j.smith-something.com, the username that came up in the result is j.smith_103, although we have verified that this is impossible to happen. This is because if someone else also has an email address starting with the exact same username as someone else already registered, Skype attaches an underscore followed by a number next to that new username to distinguish these different profiles. This profile is most probably the 103rd profile using an email address with username of j.smith. And this is usual because you can all understand that j.smith is a common name. This teaches us that whenever we see an underscore followed by numbers, we know that it may be irrelevant in the email search of the user. Of course, we need to also check the possibility that the user has put an underscore followed by numbers himself when creating the email address. In case there is again a duplicate, you might see strange usernames containing more than one underscore, followed by numbers. For example, jsmith_1_1. Also, since we now know this technique, we also know that profiles that have live followed by a random text like whatever or ASTF have a higher possibility of being troll accounts, since they used troll emails to register on Skype in the first place. Last but not least, we can actually reverse this process, meaning that if we know the email address our target is using, we can search for that username, for the username live, followed by the username of his email address to find hidden Skype accounts. He might use a different display name than his real name, but we will either way find his hidden Skype account. A John Smith might have a Skype display name of Dragon Killer, but if he has used a jsmith@gmail.com email to register, his auto-generated Skype username will betray his real identity. If we know our target has this email, searching live followed by jsmith might reveal this hidden account of our target. Moving on, I would like to point out one last thing that Skype usernames can help you with. If you remember, one of our targets had a username of TigerHeart777. I believe this is a unique one, but some of you may argue that is not. In any case, in the photo on the right, you can see that the username search of TigerHeart777 brings up two different results. The first result is from Germany. If our target is not from Germany, we now know that another user might be using this username. And if we expand our search later on, looking for places this username has been used, for example, using username search tools like What's My Name or Sherlock, we know that every German-related profile we find might not link to our target. So we can exclude results or findings in our OSINT investigations. There is, of course, the obvious possibility we have found two different accounts of our target, but as for this second possibility, again, we wouldn't be able to reveal it otherwise if we didn't search Skype for his Skype username. So that's a victory anyway. If your only information about the target is an email address and he has a Skype account linked to it, you can immediately find at least a full name and the username he uses. And this is sometimes more than enough to advance your investigation much further than, of course, having a single mail address. But remember, even if you get practically nothing useful as a result, if a Skype profile exists, you have verified that this email address most probably also exists. And this is very, very important also. There are some more things to consider though. University and work email addresses often need verification, and using Skype is a great way to verify these email addresses exist. There are two reasons for this. First, Skype is linked to Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams is becoming more and more popular with companies and universities due to its great capabilities in teamwork and e-conferencing. Second, there is a Skype version for businesses, which I assume businesses use to support more people on a call and some extra handy capabilities. That said, an OSINT investigator can easily verify student email addresses, since students are often instructed to use their email addresses to Microsoft Teams or Skype for Business for online classes and other purposes, such as exams, or search if an email address, work or student, has been used to create a Microsoft Teams account, in case, of course, the target email has not been used for a Skype account, to both verify the existence of the email address and reveal if there is a Teams account linked to it. If there is indeed an email address that has been used to register on Microsoft Teams, but has not been used to register on Skype, you will get a result like the one in the photo. Note that this cannot be done with the Skiply site search. Another useful thing you need to know about searching with email addresses is that if you type a very generic email address, results can reach even 100 plus in numbers. If you try searching for whatever yahoo.com, then you get such an absurd number of results. This can help you find that all these profiles have used a troll email address on registration. Furthermore, Skype constantly asks users to add their phone numbers if they haven't done so. I suppose this is part of its marketing, because there are ways to use Skype to call the real phone numbers. Suppose you have a telephone number which you think might belong or belonged to your target at some point. You can search Skype and find out if his name pops up to verify this connection. Or imagine that you only have a phone number to begin your investigation with, and it is tied to a Skype account. Now you have a name or a username to further advance your investigation. An important thing to remember here is that Skype accepts phone number search queries that include country code in +1 format and not in 001 format. In conclusion, Skype can be a great free OSINT tool, although not mentioned often in the OSINT community. I hope in this talk I could show you a little bit why. Some takeaways here would be that Skype allows you to find new information simply by searching a name, username, email address, or telephone. It also allows you to find hidden email addresses and email addresses linked to Microsoft Teams, even if they're not registered in Skype. Last but not least, it allows you to verify the existence of emails or telephones and link anything you might have to a display name or Skype username. Don't forget that people tend to use their true personal details in applications like Skype. Thanks for listening to my talk. I will provide all slides after the talk if needed. You can also find most of the things I mentioned in my blog post in the link that is shown, although I have added some new elements today to make it more interesting. If there are any questions, I will be happy to answer.
Hey, yeah, so we do have a little bit of a few questions. The first one is, so you have, a tool to do OSINT, right? Is there any risk of the person you're actually investigating ever getting pinged or, anything of that sort? Because, when you're doing a Trace Labs event, you do have that no-touch rule. So is this guaranteed to be a no-touch technique?
Yes, as long as you don't initiate communication with your target, he will never be notified that you found or seen his profile, even if you use the application. But if you're worried, in any case, you can use the Skiply site I have shown you, because you don't even need an investigative account to search there.
Awesome. And so you would recommend doing this with, let's say, starting with a name, or like at what stage of an OSINT investigation would you look for a Skype ID, or is it only if you have an email?
You can look. You can use this technique at any point of your OSINT investigation, because the more information you have about the target, the more things you can search and the more things you can verify or link with him. If I have a username, this might link me to a fake profile he might have. If I have a name, this again might lead me to learn new things about him, as partial names or surname I didn't know, and so on. The more I have, the better. But you can use it at any point, even at the start of your investigation. If you have only a phone number to start with or only one email address to start with, that will immediately give you a name, a display name he chose to use, and the username in Skype.
Okay. And another one is, okay, so you have email addresses. If you have, let's say, a corporate email address, or someone that has an email address from their place of employment. So you use Teams to verify an email address at some point. Would this also work for corporate versions of Teams, or no?
As long as I'm concerned, yes, it works with all versions. I've tried multiple search queries, but maybe something I missed. I don't know. But I'm pretty positive it works with all versions.
Okay, fantastic. Well, do we have anything more?
No, I think that's it. Thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation. I know it makes me kind of never want to use Skype again.
Thank you also for allowing me to present in this wonderful conference. And thank you everyone for listening to my.
Yeah, no problem.